There are moments in life where language just feels too small, where facts don't comfort and explanations don't reach the place that's hurting deep inside you. Death is one of those moments. When someone we love leaves this world, what aches is not only their absence, but the mystery behind their disappearance. Where did they go? Are they really gone? What was the part of them that laughed, loved, dreamed, and existed here with us, even for a brief period of time? Across all of human history, no matter the culture, continent, all human beings have returned to the same question. What is the soul? And how does it belong to the universe? The ancients looked up to the stars and they saw gods, realms, pathways of return. Mystics looked inward and they found worlds as vast as the cosmos itself. Modern science now looks into information fields, consciousness itself, and we find something strangely familiar. So tonight on Chasing the Past, this is not an episode about, the end. It's an episode about continuity of the soul. Perhaps if the universe is not merely matter alone, but memory, structure, rhythm, and information, then potentially what we call the soul, maybe it doesn't end. Perhaps it is something that, just remembers to go home. What's up, guys? Thank you for being here. I noticed that my tone's a little softer and it'll make more sense, but I thought I would just be completely upfront, open. I haven't done a whole lot of research recently. I just lost my grandmother. So just full transparency, I didn't even shower yet. It is 5 p.m. I wanted to take something that, one, plagues all of us at one point or another, and the people around you and all the stuff that you personally have to deal with and then inside the family has to deal with. And I wanted to make it positive rather than negative. So the more that I found some of these tie-ins with notes and journals and things I've been writing, I found a decent connection point here. And the subject of that I figured would be a continuity of some kind, describing, what the ancient past thought of as the soul and where it went into maybe something we're getting now in, modern academia. And so that's kind of the gist, kind of just went nuts on it. So we're going to get into it and we're just going to go through the ancient past, and then I'll tie in as we go through what that seems to be like in a modern interpretation. So, here we go, baby. We're ancient Egypt. Why? I don't know why. I'm nervous now. A little sad. So in Egypt, it seems more, I got that it was the soul as like a multi-part cosmic being or entity itself. So the Egyptians never really saw the soul as like a single thing. It was a system. And so there are multiple components in this system. So you have Kat, which is the physical body, the Ka, that's your life force, the animating energy, which also is, there's a common thing that I'll hit it right out right out of the gate, but it's the thing when someone's gone, you're like, they're not there, right? That's similar to this animating energy. Ba, that's your personality, memory, uniqueness. And it looks like it's spelled like pound, but I'm guessing it's Ib, which is the heart, seat of consciousness. Ren, which is the name, right? Your identity across time itself. And the Ak then becomes this ending, transfigured, eternal being that humans become. And so the whole point is that the goal was, death was not this escape. It was more of reintegration. And so the three-part would be the soul reunites with Ma'at, right? This cosmic order. So then you join this solar cycle of Ra as the sun follows until the moon rises. And so kind of a cyclical nature. And then you become this Ankh. So this luminous, effective, creative spirit. And so in the whole system, the human being is then a small, fraction of this microcosm of the universe being this macrocosm. And so death just became this, restoration, right? The architecture for the cosmos and you reintegrating into the cosmos. I'll just go into, field theory, system identity theory, and we already discussed that it was a system, right? And you join this cosmic order. So this modern parallel would be like systems theory that shows that identity emerges from different interacting components. And in this holographic model, it would be kind of the same thing. So that it shows information that persists even when, the form itself changes. And, a good idea of I was reading this in the Divine Matrix book. It's an image, a holographic image, right? When it pops from the page, it's because if you cut it up into as really small pieces, you get that same picture in the little one as you did the big, art. The big, I have a Captain America one upstairs. Of course I do. And so it's if you cut that up and you have the small one, well, that looks exactly, if you zoomed in real close, like the big picture, and it gives it this effect. And so the other modern parallel is, of course, physics now, they increasingly treat reality as a field, not necessarily like objects, like an object. And so this bridge point is the Ankh as this similar, I wouldn't say similar. It's the same as this coherent informational state, right? This pattern that's recognized inside the bigger system. And so instead of, did we all get this Egyptian mytho type, ancient alien, whatever, which is really fun. I like to go there. But if anything, it seems more like a definition of moving to a new phase, right? Not you're not done with, but again, there's a whole bunch of interplay between, being worthy or not. So, but if you're worthy or not, and they weigh the heart, well then now you get to transition to this new phase, this new way of life. And when I understood that, it kind of gave me a little more oh, nice. That seems better than we live forever, we have alien DNA, right? Still a fun place to go. But I think it's really beautiful and it kind of fits in this information system mode of thinking we're walking down. So the next one is the Mesopotamia. So this kind of goes through where life comes from in breath, how fate is determined, and then how it's a part of this cosmic record. And so in Sumerian and Akkadian, the soul is tied to breath. And then life was animated by divine wind, which is interesting because that kind of plays into, we won't even go there. But let's just say it plays into the same wordplay with ancient Hebrew. And fate was written into the fabric of this big cosmic scale. So the underworld then becomes, not you're dead and you're annihilated and you're gone, right? It was just a change of space, kind of similar to phase transition, but almost the domain changes. And so the example is the gods governed me, fate governed me, right? With these cosmic decrees, but they structure the stars and human lives. They structure the gods' lives and the stars and my life. And we all work in this merged system. And so then existence becomes, governed and regulated by cosmic law, memory, and keeping this order. But the soul still remains within that system. It's not outside of it. It still works inside the system. And this gets into, cosmic law, determinism, and informational structures. So again, we talked about this already, but I really liked where it said fate was written into me, It's like, I am a part of this system. So the modern parallels would be, of course, like the laws of physics have restraints on certain things. And so those can be your informational constraints. And then, of course, we have, the mathematical universe hypothesis. And then we have this deterministic and probabilistic rule-based systems that become this cosmic decrees that hold the whole thing together, but they all work within the highest to the lowest. And the bridge between them would be this framework of like reality governed by universal cosmic laws that are non-material, like organized principles. And the soul becomes just a localized expression of this universal law. Another, kind of cool one, and the thing I was tied to was like the cool part of Mesopotamia, and I'm like, whoa, the gods and all these unique things I'm learning about it. This seems kind of boring. It makes Egypt look good, so Egypt, you're right up there on top. Back to number one. But then you go back to, now we're going to keep moving, through the ancient past into Hindu and Vedic traditions, where the soul is a universal identity. And there are two parts. So you have the Atman, which is the inner self, the soul. Then you have Brahman, which is this universal consciousness. And the realization in, these traditions is that Atman is Brahman. So it's kind of the same as the two we've already gone through, where, you're not a fragment inside this universe, right? You are the universe, but now you step up from Mesopotamia, but now, and I put this in purple highlighter, the universe is experiencing itself locally through you, with you. You are it is you, right? So the soul, reincarnates not as punishment, but it's more of a like continuity of information and experience. And something that isn't going to be so far, away from what you guys have all heard is, in this system, it means that consciousness is fundamental. Individuality is this temporary pattern, but the soul is this localized expression of this universe, this universal field itself. And that really goes into, the universal mind and consciousness first based systems, where you have, like analytical idealism and panpsychism and, these models that keep popping up, even with, like the UAP, UFO side of the world. It's like consciousness is fundamental in this model. We don't understand it necessarily, but it is fundamental. And, again, remember that like Vedic traditions and then become Hinduism later, they're one of the oldest religious systems in the world. And I remember telling a buddy of mine that, and he goes, "What? No way." I go, "Yeah, it's one of the oldest." And what this means is consciousness is not produced. It's more like you're participating in it. And you become one of these nodes almost that has a universal awareness. And I just liked that one. I really did. I was like, wow, that really kind of changes the way. Well, these all have like very hit or miss type things for me. But again, I grew up in the West. So maybe a lot of these that are from the East, they don't really have a whole lot of, it feels like identity to it, right? Like, oh, you're participating in it, you're part of it, but then it kind of removes the identity. And I think that's just me being raised in the West. But the one that, since we talked about it, next up is Buddhism, right? Where the soul is a process, not like an object. So there's no fixed soul, there's no identity, but continuity is still there based in the system, where consciousness then is just this stream. The identity that you have is then just a kind of a routine pattern for the rebirth, right? Which is this, informational causality, really. So it's like, the analogy that I got was like a flame lighting another flame, right? Nothing really transfers, yet nothing gets lost. But it's less about the identity in this one, but more about continuing on and building upon this process. And so what continues then would be the structure, tendency, memory, awareness. So it's very close to like modern systems with informational models. And something I found was like process philosophy and informational like continuity was, it's just this ongoing stream. I assume I didn't look too much into it again. I've kind of been, no shower. But if it has no beginning, no end, then it's just a stream of consciousness or a stream of, things that happen and you just happen to be in it. So the modern parallels is systems emergence, information conservation, and then process philosophy. And, modern science shows patterns that persist even when like certain substrates change. And so then this rebirth becomes just informational data that has continuity rather than an entity transferring from one to the other. So it's just like you jump in the stream, you participate in it, you move through it, and then when you're gone, it's just still in stream. It still gets picked up later in this process of identity that becomes someone else. So that's kind of this reincarnational type vibe. And I think when we get here to the next bit where it's Greek and Platonic, I think that's where we get like a little bit more of individuality showing up, where the soul then is this cosmic mind, right? So the three things that I always remember that Plato taught was like the soul lives outside or exists outside the body. The universe itself is it's alive, it's living, it's a thing. And the human soul then mirrors this world soul, the big model that we all are in. Again, that kind of ties into the above stuff, but it kind of feels separated to me. Like you're separating the soul from the human's participation in this world soul. And so that soul then descends into matter. It forgets, like reascends later through, remembrance and knowledge. And then learning then becomes the soul remembering who it is, what it is, who you are. And it's a very good tie-in to like the holographic model, or, we talked about the mathematical universe principle earlier, but, it means that the universe itself is alive. It's ensouled. The universe is ensouled itself, where the human soul then mirrors that same world soul. So then you're not really learning something new. You're remembering what you know. Anyway, we already went through the modern parallels, holographic universe, participatory realism, and then mathematical universe hypothesis. But reality then is increasingly described as mind-like, right? It's a structured mind-like system, and it's consistent, self-consistent, where it becomes a field of cosmic information, the world soul that becomes this cosmic field. And that leads down into, because the knowledge piece is one that I was like, oh, it's very Gnostic. Well, here we go. So we have, Gnosticism and Hermeticism. Then they give, to me, it feels like they give this human soul from Plato like something deeper to think about. And that's the divine spark, right? It's in Gnostic text, it's this spark, this fragment of divinity, this divine light in you that has fallen into matter somehow. And the whole point is when you achieve gnosis, or you learn enough, or you have enough knowledge, then you seek reunification, right, with source. So with, the one that Plato talks about is the same thing. So they kind of go back and forth. So it means that, like, in order to do that, it means that salvation's not like, it's not like a belief. It's more of like an experience of awakening based on the information that you've participated in, that you've actively sought out, that you chose to look at, but, you didn't ignore it in this case. And so the soul returns through these layers of reality and these spheres of intelligences, but it means the cosmos is structured, right? Consciousness structured. The soul is then encoded light, right? That divine spark, it's light inside you. It has information in it. It's encoded into you. But the only way to reunify or have reunification is you have to have enough knowledge to activate this mode of ascension. And some of the elements that are like some light specifically, we kind of just get lost, like, I turn on the light switch and light shows up. It's like, no, we can do a lot with light. And so to me, I've just put light, code, consciousness fields, and how do these actively participate with us inside this bigger system. And so that their view again is that this divine light is encoded into matter. And so us being that matter with this divine spark then seek reascension through different layers of reality. And modern parallels to that is, light being fundamental, right? Consciousness fields and conscious field theories that tie in with like quantum information theory. And the bridge becomes, okay, we all know now in physics that matter is structured light. And in that light, you get information. So it was like, oh my, it's almost like we got it, right? Everyone, we figured it out. And so this spark then becomes almost like a cosmic data packet that, goes back to reunification. And something that it's really in depth, but both, Gnostic Hermeticism, Gnosticism Hermeticism, and then the next one is Kabbalah, right? Their tree of consciousness is, one, trying to understand it. There's a book upstairs about, I was trying to read, called The Cosmic Christ. Every time I pick it up, right, I feel like when I read it and I'm highlighting, it's just all highlighter. Like, it's almost like too much information, and I'm trying to take it piece and piece at a time. But then my brain hurts. I'm trying to write down how this certain element might apply to me, you, and everybody else. And I'm like, too much. Enough time. Right? It's too much. But the soul and how the soul activates in Kabbalah, the soul is, or as a piece of this tree of life, this tree of consciousness. And so the soul then has levels, just like the tree has levels. I don't know how to pronounce these. We're going to give it our best. It looks like nefesh. That didn't even sound correct. Anyway, this is like instinct. This is like the part of you that acts on instinct. I keep saying instinct again, but it's like, you get it. Ruach, which is the emotional self, right? And actually, since I'm right here, I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. I'm pretty sure, I think it is something relating to spirit as well. Yeah. So ruach is a powerful Hebrew word meaning wind, breath, or spirit, often used in the Bible for God's active presence. Remember how I mentioned earlier in the video where it relates to divine wind and then breath being life? Ruach is that word. So the next, level would be the neshama, which would be the higher mind. And then these are two words that aren't even close, but it's unity consciousness. It's like yakada. It sounds about right. And so, pardon my butchering of these words, but the soul then descends the tree of life and then ascends back through it. So not only do you get more complicated with, like, let's just say in Gnosticism, where you're like, oh, you just have to do this thing, learn it, and then when you have gnosis, then you can have reunification. No, the tree of life gets more complicated when you can descend and ascend through it at different times based on different informational, like, reality systems that you have to work through, and with the levels of the soul that you have to achieve at the same time. So it's like the worst it's like the worst game of chutes and ladders. Like that every time I read that, that's exactly what this sounds like to me. But the point that we're getting to with this, Kabbalah, is reality then is a layered consciousness system that the soul moves through, and it moves through these informational realms, and it navigates them based upon, I keep trying to use other religious ideology to describe this, but the just note the soul moves through these informational realms, and then to essentially achieve or ascend or move to the top of this tree of life. And something that I didn't think about this before, but it also means that, like, reality then is layered because it is a cosmic mind, or it's a structure of intelligence, so that reality gets layered, and you, being a piece of it as well, kind of get to walk up and down through it. And in modern parallels, we get higher dimensional physics, right? Cognitive field models, the fractal and scale invariant universe. I know the fractal universe, theory, but the bridge here is that, like, modern day cosmology, like, we keep getting to this thing where it's like these realities are structured, they're hierarchical, and then they're nested inside one another. So that was super cool when I got to some of these, but it means that this tree of life and the way you navigate it navigate reality, all of them, like, this is your map, which makes sense. If it's a map, like I am, without GPS, I would be in big trouble. So maybe it'll just take me personally some time to get through this map. But all of that they all seemed really cool to go through. And then in finding some of these modern ideas, right, and I think I might expand on them because I really didn't give an overview of it, but we're pretty deep in this video so far, so I might do another one that goes into these either individually or do something unique with them. But what I kept getting, and it gave me comfort, especially in this, period of time where you're going through all the grief and all the stuff of what's missed, and it doesn't matter the location, the language, all of this ties into itself, or the way that humanity sees itself in this grand scale cosmic, building block type system. But, in the ancient world, it's spirit, light, breath, logos, the world soul, the divine mind. That's their terminology in the past. But for us, it's kind of the same interplay, whether it's, information, different fields, consciousness, computation, emergence, structure, like all these that I listed, they're just words that kind of all point to the same thing and the same struggle that we all are trying to understand. So it did make me feel less alone, and I hope that, if this finds you in a terrible, trying time, then no, you're not alone either. Like, I'm right here with you. But both circle the same possibilities, and the one that I really liked, and it almost gives life, but it's true. It's a living, the universe then becomes not this, like, dead type thing that kind of moves and we don't really care about it. It becomes tied into a system where we get to participate in it, we get to be in it, and we get to be here living it. And in that living system, right, we have, the experiences, we have the memories, we go through patterns and things that we all relate to, because those patterns and experiences and memories of the past become universal. They become, like, fundamentally, required for this whole system to work, and we just get to be in it. And it gives me a lot of gratitude to be here, or to be here with, my fiance and my son, and we get to do all these great things and participate in something that, even if it is beyond comprehension, is still, it's great to be alive. And, across all ages, we keep kind of rediscovering these same like possibilities where the soul isn't just like a random, what is it, ghost in the machine, right? It's a pattern of a living universe that lives in you and lives in me. And then death then becomes less about like, getting deleted from the software, or, forgetting everything and just doing nothing. Or, in certain cases, I understand where some of these religious systems help, but it's also not the end all be all. They all have like connection points to one another. But that connection point is a transformation. It's a new way of existence. It's a new state of being. It's something that moves through the universe even when you're gone, which I think is just so miraculously beautiful. And, that love and the memory and those experiences, and maybe identity in certain cases, maybe they disappear, maybe they vanish, but maybe, who knows, maybe they were never supposed to be isolated. Maybe it's part of the whole system. And so they were always, all of this was supposed to happen and go the way it's supposed to go because it's written into the very structure of, reality itself. And I didn't even write an ending to this. I really didn't. I just thought it'd be cool to almost do this as like a cathartic type, get it off my chest type deal. It's worked. But I guess the thing I'll leave you guys with to end this one is, there's a beautiful like quote, but it's Andrew Garfield. He says it on TV when he loses his mom. But he says, like, I'm not going to try to I'll paraphrase. I don't remember it exactly, but it's the mentioning grief after losing his mom and the pain after. And he said he came to terms with it being good, because it means that you're upset that you don't have the time to do the things with the people that you love anymore, because they're gone, so you don't get those anymore. But that little memory, that little thing that sticks around in you, is the reflection of that person's love in your life, and how it impacted you, and how it, changed you and built you to the person you are. And I think that's the most beautiful way to end a video that started about what happens to the soul after we pass. Thanks, guys. I'll see ya.